Today's program is about a debate between Prophet Muhammad and some of the senior people of the Quraysh tribe in Mecca who were always keen to belittle him. The Prophet was sitting around the Kaaba with some of his companions, teaching Quran, and some of the Quraysh leaders spotted him. They were saying to each other, "What shall we do about Muhammad who calls himself a prophet? He's becoming more active day by day. Is there any way we can put an end to his activities? He's becoming a bit too successful in his mission to spread what he calls Islam." One of them suggested the following:
I think Ibn Abi Umayyah should start a debate with the Prophet and try to humiliate him in front of his followers. What we need to do is make his followers start to doubt his prophethood.
Ibn Abi Umayyah went up to the Prophet and said to him,
How come you were chosen as a prophet? You're just a normal man like any of us who eats and drinks. Surely a normal man isn't worthy of being chosen as God's messenger. It makes more sense that God would have chosen a wealthier and more powerful man for such a position, maybe a king.
The Quraysh man also said,
God could have also sent an angel as his messenger. At any rate, just look at yourself. You look more like a bewitched and crazy person than a prophet.
Prophet Muhammad had been listening to all of this and asked him if he was finished with his various arguments. The Quraysh man replied to him,
No, there's more I have to say to you.
He then said to the Prophet,
If anything, God would have surely chosen one of the important men from Mecca or Medina as his messenger. I can think of several names.
He continued his speech.
The other important thing about a messenger is that he should also bring miracles. There is no way we can believe in you unless you bring out springs from the rocky and dry land around Mecca. Another miracle you could bring for us would be a garden of grapes and dates in which streams flow.
He mentioned other miracles.
Why don't you bring heaven down for us? Or you could bring us face to face with God and the angels, or climb up to heaven, or you could bring a house of gold.
Ibn Abi Umayyah said to the Prophet Muhammad,
Then again, even if you bring all these miracles, it might still not be enough to convince us that you are a prophet.
Prophet Muhammad had been waiting patiently and now asked if he was done with his arguments. Ibn Abi Umayyah was very surprised at that because he thought that his arguments had been so good that the Prophet would have no way of responding to him. However, he didn't know that several verses of the Quran had been revealed to the Prophet while he was listening to the arguments, and the Prophet had the best of responses. Prophet Muhammad told him that it is God who makes people poor or wealthy, and it is not for the people to complain about the status that God confers on them. Likewise, the Prophet explained how God did not act according to people's whims or wishes, and didn't attach any importance to having palaces in the way people did. He then explained why it would have been counterproductive for the messenger of God to live in a palace like a king. The whole mission of the messenger was to speak to people about the faith and teach them. However, if he were living in a palace hidden away from the people, how would he be able to approach them to teach them? He rejected their idea that an angel would be more credible as the messenger of God, as angels cannot be seen by humans. So an angel would have to take on human form in order to be visible by humans and carry out his mission as messenger. Yet, if the angel appeared in human form, how could he persuade the people that he was a messenger and not just a normal human being? The Prophet barely responded to the slur on himself by the Quraysh, that he was bewitched. He merely asked of them if they had ever seen him do anything wrong or be untrue to his words. Of course they hadn't. Then Prophet Muhammad talked about all the miracles that the Quraysh wanted him to bring to prove his prophethood. He asked of Ibn Abi Umayyah that if he himself could bring springs out of the rocks around Mecca, would that make him a prophet? Ibn Abi Umayyah replied to that,
No, that wouldn't make me a prophet. Of course not.
The Prophet also talked about how the Quraysh themselves had created gardens with grapes and dates in the mountain village of Taif, with streams in them, and he asked of Ibn Abi Umayyah if that made the Quraysh prophets. Ibn Abi Umayyah said,
No, the Quraysh haven't become prophets because of that.
One of the famous Quraysh men in the group, Abu Jahl, asked of the Prophet,
Tell me, why hasn't God punished us for asking to see him?
After some explanations by the Prophet, he asked them to look up, and the sky opened and fire came down straight towards them, and the Quraysh felt the heat and became very scared and anxious. The Prophet told them not to fear, as God does not intend to have them perished at this time, and he only made this appear as a warning for them. Then rays of light appeared from behind them and pushed the fire back into the sky. That was it for today.